Hey, hang on. Hey, they're here. Hey,
what? Hello, morning.
They're here. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've been sat here since last week, just waiting for this time to come along.
Don't give me a jump like that, Ted. I was in a nice place.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we do. You see, we turn it off on a Monday when we finish, and we just sit here until it's time to come back on again. So here we are, everybody. Welcome again. Welcome to the eModels live stream with me, Ted. It's down there. Says it's down there, or is it down there? It's down there. And the other guy that's in the other room.
Hello. It's Fox, which is there or there. I don't know what side it's on. It's on the wrong side for me. Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy Labor Day if you're in the US.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Yeah. Happy Labor Day. Was it Labor Day?
Labor Day. Yeah.
Labor Day.
I don't know what it means, but it's Labor Day apparently.
Yeah. Happy whatever day it is to you all in the US. And
you misspelled Labor Day.
Is it an excuse to get drunk and beer and party and things like that? If it is,
I would expect so. If it was a British thing, it would.
It would be. Yes, it can't be bad at all. So, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. It's a rather damp, wet evening here in the UK. Well, it is for me in Cumbria anyway, and it's been wet and horrible.
No, for me, it's warm and humid, but glum and gloomy looking, but also really, really warm and humid. Hence, no jacket. Sorry, Pete.
I've got my jacket on because it's horrible. You living in the same country as me then?
I don't know. I think I'm near the tropics or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, you're a bit further south, so the weather does improve as you get further south.
Yeah, but if we lived in London, it'd be like the Seychelles right now. So
yeah. Or you can go the other way. The weather can get worse in Orkney.
Yeah, you watch. It'll be like nice and tropical in Orkney as well.
Oh yeah. Well, we've got that hurricane that's probably heading its way from the US, so we'll be getting that soon. Right, let's have a look, see who's in chat. And I think the first one in tonight was Bob Bobbington. Yes, he was first one in. He was here at 8:30, 22 minutes past 8. Closely followed by Matthew Drake. Then they had a conversation between themselves till Frank346 joined in.
Yeah. Bob Bobbington at one point said he'd rather eat a spider than eat toffee poppets. I tend to agree, apart from the spider bit.
Yeah, spiders. Yeah, yeah. Who else has been in? Matthew Drake, Bob Bobbington. Yeah, they all chatting amongst themselves. And Alex Cattell joined. Matthew Drake, model making guru, was in there as well at some time.
Who's that? I don't know who that is.
Never heard of him. Never even heard of him. The guys carried on chatting till they were joined by Simon D and Phil Rhodes. Mike Mountain, hi Mike, how are you? Simon O'Callaghan.
David Moore says, I didn't know Ted was taking the register.
Yes. If you're not here, say so.
Yes.
It is the first day back at school for most of the people here in the UK.
Oh, God, is it? I've forgotten when school holidays finished since I left school.
Yeah, I think most of them have gone back today because suddenly away on Lake Windermere on the boats, it went dead. Nobody. So if you want to come to the lakes, it's a glorious time to come to the lakes now because nobody's there. So I've got on lots of people in there, far too many to mention now, but welcome to you all. And please, if you have any questions, we'd like to get you guys involved in this program as well. So just drop your questions in the chat. Doesn't have to be about models, could be about anything at all. We'll have a bit of fun, we'll have a bit of chat. As I say, it's just usually like a couple of guys having a few beers in a pub, just chatting and passing the time along. So that's what this is all about.
To help us with the questions, because the chat moves so fast, Ted and I are too busy presenting, so we miss a lot of the questions. So to help us spot your question, type your questions in capitals. Don't do anything else in capitals because that's rude, but questions, put them in capitals, we're more likely to see them that way. Yeah,
or if we need to scroll back to look for them, we can find them easier.
Find them.
Yeah, although, sometimes we can't find them at all, so we do ask you to type them again. Yeah, so
Simon O'Callaghan says, well done, Ted, the G is silent. I have told him several times, Simon. I have told him that. Simon O'Callaghan.
Callahan, yeah.
Even he's pulling up about it now.
Well done, the G is silent. Yeah,
yes.
I remember that. It took me a few weeks to get Orkney's right.
Oh, there he goes, Scott. I'm sorry.
And Kenneth M. Yes, I have had a haircut. Yeah, look at that. It's all swept over. Yeah, it's nice and short.
He's got hardcore and urban and street on the sides there. You're rocking it a bit, you know what I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth, like getting getting a bit of street cred, you know.
Yeah, some tram lines in there now.
Yeah. Plus, I had a note off the boss as well. Ted, get your hair cut, wear a tie, and things like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Please put pants on when you come to work.
Yes. Good job. We could only film from the top down.
Yes.
The top up.
It's a small mercy, but it's a mercy, so go with it.
Yeah, but listen, Ted from Take That. Yeah. I want to do one of the dudes now. Yeah, so I've got a bit of product in the hair as well. You know, he wants. Yeah, when he said, "Do you want something for the weekend?" I wasn't quite sure what he was on about, but yeah. So
I'd be like, yeah, chicken korma, that'll do.
yeah, I could have carried out a chicken korma, please.
Well, maybe not a korma.
Yeah. So that's it. What have you guys been up to out there? What have we been up to? Well, I've been a little bit busy this week. I have had a go at as I said last week, I was getting on with the U-boat engine, and I did promise you that I was going to do a live stream this weekend. However, her who must be a beard had other plans for me. We've been out looking at houses, decorating and such thing like that, and unfortunately the live stream fell by the wayside. But I do promise that one will be along shortly, so I've been having a go at it, and it's pretty tedious actually. All these little parts that must be cut and taken off the sprues and denubbed, so that's taken a lot of time as well. I've been getting on with it, but I just haven't had time to get around and show you a live update.
It's all tiny tubes, isn't it, Ted? It's all tiny.
It really is tiny tubes, and I'll show you on the live update the problems that I came across with all the tiny tubes. But have you been getting on with anything, Fox? I know you've been doing something a little bit different from the Eagle this week, haven't you?
Yes, for the last few weeks I've been doing on my big Master Chief. Purely because I need to get this done and sold so I can pay for my car insurance and MOT. So that's why the Eagle is kind of just temporarily off to one side. Pete May knows all about it. Just off to one side while I get this finished. I can get it sold. So I've just been working on that. I did do a little bit of testing today. I've been testing. I will show you these. I've got a plan. I've been trying out different metallics. I can't actually get them all in one hand. I've got to do the Chief's visor, so I've been trying out different metallics to get his visor. Going to do a metallic base and then the orange. So I'll show you one of those a bit later on because there's something we're going to show you that's in stock that I'm going to show you all about. So, but yes, other than that, just been working on that. Not much other than that. Playing a bit of Fallout 4 still playing that when I've got a few hours spare. Loving it. Fallout 4 with mods, absolutely the best. However, Destiny 2 is out on Wednesday, so I need to get lots of work done this week so I can spend my entire weekend playing Destiny 2. Yes.
Remember that, folks. So if Fox comes up with the excuse next week that he can't make it, you know where he's at. So we're all around his house.
I wouldn't do that to you, Ted. I need a damn good reason to not do the live stream. Destiny 2 would be a damn good reason. Moving on.
Yeah. And yes, there's been comments. I think one or two of the comments have said that I found the missing part. Yay! Yes, I did find the missing part, and the part was found by Model Baking Chicken. I don't know if we mentioned that. Did we mention it? It's been the last week since I found it. But the missing part for the outboard, the engine has turned up.
I think you need to, Ted. I think you need to explain how it was found, because I from what you told me, the way it was discovered suggests it wasn't actually lost.
It was actually lost. Now, what I do when I finish work for the evening, I usually lay everything out on the workbench as I want it to start the next day. When I come back, so it's ready, I know where I'm at, and everything was all laid out in these little pots that are available from a hamburger outlet. Everything was
fast food takeaway chain.
Yeah. Only if you ask. You can get them if you ask the manager for them, obviously. Yeah. Like them wooden stirring sticks from a coffee shop.
Oh, no, you just take those.
You sure? Yeah, I've always asked.
No, what you do is you go into a petrol station where it has a serve yourself for that popular coffee outlet, and you go, I'll have a stick. You take all of them. And then you get yourself a coffee and you walk out with like 300 stirring sticks.
Yeah.
Not that I've just told people to steal, but
no, that's why I say you've got to ask. Yeah. So I had everything laid out. Everything was laid out, and my workroom is also the same room as the laundry room. So there's a washing machine and a tumble dryer to the side of me here. And the wife had left the door open. And in walks, while I'm not here, in walks model making chicken, who decides that she would make her home on the bench for the day. So promptly doesn't have any finesse about her. Promptly kicked everything over. So the whole bench was in disarray. But in that moment, when I walked back into the workshop, despite a mess that was in front of me, was right in the middle of the cutting mat, the missing part.
See, now to me, Ted, that tells me it was actually in the pot.
I think what happened was when it flicked in midair, when it flicked from these tweezers in midair, it must have gone up and down and landed within said pot, but in another pot. And when the chicken has kicked them all over, she's found it. So that's what happened.
So praise be to model making chicken, who needs to make an appearance on one of these shows at some point.
So yeah, it was a chicken. The chicken found it. So that's what happens. So yeah.
Couple of things, on that, a couple of things from Dave. Why is the rum gone Barker? Ted says, Ted, can you rent out model making chicken, the carpet monster killer?
Yeah, sorts that carpet monster out.
And he also says, Fox, I can't play Fallout 4 now. I modded it so much I broke it. Just go in and turn all the mods off.
Yeah.
Turn off some of the mods. You're probably just using up all the memory, so go in and deactivate some of the mods.
Shadowland Scale Models has come up with a question. We've got a serious question.
Oh God, really?
What's your preferred way of cutting stainless steel at micro tubing? I can't find I don't know where my tube cutter is.
You've actually got a thing called a tube cut. There's actually a tube cut.
Yeah, there is. There is a tiny microbore tube cutter. And
while you're looking, I will say I hate cutting metal tubing. I've got no tool to do it. So I've either, because I've had some brass rods, which isn't stainless steel, obviously. It's a little bit softer. If it's a really, really fine, thin tube, I just get my blade and I roll it. So I get the rod and I get the blade on it and I roll it on the desk, on the workbench, so it rolls with the blade and that cuts through it. If it's too big to do that, though, usually I take the hacksaw it and then file it flat. But it's not ideal. I haven't got a tube cutter. However, Ted does have a tube cutter.
I'm trying to think if my tube cutter is in here. It's just a small version of what a plumber has. Yeah, here it is.
Yay.
Yay, found it. It's just a very small version. I think I got it from a hobby shop. Might even say that. Yeah, it's one of these. What you do, you just screw this down until it grips. So that's a piece of tube in there. Oh, undo it again. You screw it down until your tube sits in there like that, and then turn it, screw it again, turn it, screw it again, and eventually this cutting wheel here will cut its way around your tube. Now, for stainless steel may not cut the same way as Fox has just described, and I cut my brass tubing exactly the same as he does.
Yeah, stainless steel you wouldn't be able to do it with a normal blade and rolling it because it's stainless steel.
But that's what it is. DIY shop, little hobby shop. They don't cost very much at all, just a few pounds, and for the amount of times that you're going to use them, sort of buy one and just keep it to one side. But that's what I use. Other than that, if it's a substantial piece of pipe, just a hacksaw and file the burrs off after that.
Yep. Philip, I need to get me one of them tube cutters then. Because I don't do it very often, so I had no idea there was such a thing as a tube cutter, which is obviously I suppose stems from the plumbing electrical world rather than the model making world. But you learn.
I think it's actually designed for cutting microbore tube for central heating systems. They have the really tiny 10mm sort of pipe. I think they're designed for that, but they will go down quite small, so you can cut small scale tube.
Everything has a use in model making. Philip Rhodes says, question, a real chicken?
Yes, it is a real chicken. If you have a look back in some of our old videos, she hasn't made an appearance this year because the timings of the videos and things are sort of been late in the evening. She's gone to bed. But yes, we have a real live brown model making chicken.
Yeah, she even shouted at you a bit in one of the episodes.
Yeah, that's it. She does appears in the videos because she walks in. If the door's open and it's a sunny day, she'll walk in and sit on the floor just in the sunshine, just in the door.
I seem to remember there are videos of yours here and there where you're working away and you can hear model making chicken in the background muttering away to herself every now and then. Next time you get her on, Ted, I want you to do the thing where you hold the chicken and do that so her head stays where it is.
Yeah.
I want to know if you can do that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, this time of year, as we start the live streams about 9 o'clock, she's gone to bed. I don't want to sort of impose on her sleep. Chickens need their sleep. So
let's have a look.
Right, let's have a look back. Some more questions. Please do send your questions in on any subject. Yes, I think we can answer the one from Chris. Chris sent us Chris Williams. Yeah, he can't think of any model questions this week. Fine, but send them in. You have to choose one meal for the rest of your life. What would it be? What would your meal be, folks? If you had one meal, you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life. If the doctor said you can't have anything else but this, and you could choose one thing, what would it be? Fox?
I'm thinking it's actually really hard, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was a young shaver of a lad, one Sunday my dad got this turkey roast. It's just a chunk of turkey that you put in the oven and you cook for a couple of hours. And he made it with some veggies and stuff, and it was really, really nice, roast spuds and things like that, carrots and things. And it was really nice. But then he made it the next Sunday, and the next Sunday, and the next Sunday. And it was like every Sunday, it was the same turkey roast. And at first I was like, this is really nice. We need to eat this all the time. After about 6 months, I couldn't even take a mouthful without like, I can't eat it. I just became just hated it because I'd eaten it every single Sunday for 6 months. So it's really hard for me to decide what I have to eat. I would say, yeah, beef stroganoff. You've got your rice, you've got your beefs, you've got your bits and things. In mushrooms, it'll do.
Now, there's one or two ideas came in here, and one of them has prompted my memory. I was thinking of something. I was going to say a crab salad because I'm a fan of crab. I just love crab. I could kill for a crab. But one or two people, or particularly one person, Tony Black, said cheese sandwiches, which made me think one of the best things that you could ever have, and I've ever had, is cheese and tomato sandwiches in white bread. But they have to be soggy cheese. Soggy, it has to be soggy bread. You remember when you used to go on a picnic or you'd go on a day trip from the school and your mama put you some butties up and there were cheese and tomato sandwiches? They always got squashed.
Yeah, they were kind of squished flat, weren't they? And they were kind of a bit flaccid because they'd been in your sandwich box in your rucksack, and it was like
it soaked all the juices up from the tomato.
Oh, yes. I'm having nice flashbacks now as well. So.
Yes, but they have to be. Yeah, it can't be this fancy brown bread or white wholemeal. It has to be white, cheap,
normal white sliced bread.
Yeah, white.
And then you'd always get a packet of off-brand Watsits as well, and you'd be like, oh, they're not Watsits.
Yeah. Yeah, super cheap Watsits. Yeah,
and like the most popular in the group on the school trip were the one that had the pack of Skips. Packet of Skips.
Yeah, big pack. Yeah, they had a big sharing pack.
Yeah,
yeah.
There was no sharing.
No sharing. Yeah, but yeah, and they did taste better if you got sand in them. If you went to the beach, that crunchiness of however hard you tried to keep sand away from your sandwiches, you sort of had a 20-foot mat and you sat in the middle of it. Sand would still get in your sandwiches.
Yeah, there's always be sand.
Always be sand.
It gets everywhere. Trust me. What are people saying then? Let's have a look.
Crisp sandwiches, yeah.
Oh, crisp sandwiches. Yeah, cheese sandwiches.
Dave, where's the rum gone? Doner kebab, big fat doner kebab. Yeah, Mike Mountain said with best butter. Yes, butter.
Best butter. Robert Blaylock says prime rib and lobster with chips. That would be really nice, but if you ate that every day, you'd be the biggest, fattest person at the end in the world after about 6 weeks.
Sergeant Bourne says cheese and dill pickles.
Oh yeah, I do like my dill pickles. Philip Rose says sushi. I could live with that. Bob Bobbington says curry pot noodle. Good lad.
Dave Where's the Rum Gone says, what about the best sign is Dairy Lee and Watsits?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, I could do that. Although I'm thinking Dairy Lee and Skips or Dairy Lee and Cheese and Onion Golden Wonder Crisps. Does Golden Wonder even exist anymore? Or is that all Walkers now? It's all Walkers now, isn't it? I think.
I can't say I've seen Golden Wonder for a long time. Boiled egg salad, boiled egg and salad cream. Oh yeah, used to make that really cheap or sort of snack. Got the boiled eggs, big squirt of salad cream in a jug, and mix it up, chop it all up with a fork and a knife.
My dad used to make almost the same thing, and we used to call it egg chopped up in a cup, and it was a normal coffee mug. And you get a hard-boiled egg or two, you put them in, you chop them up, and you put a little bit of either mayo or salad cream and some pepper and stuff in there. And it was like, oh, wow. We used to call it egg chopped up in a cup because we're dead inventive with names in those days. To me, it was the best thing ever, and it was like, Dad's like, there you
go. Yeah, and I bet you thought you were the only ones doing it. Looks like everybody was doing it.
I know. TK says, it's gone. TK says, Vertel, I can't say it, Vertelstamp. Obviously, we'll assume that's brown and somewhat dubious looking. Ant from Bashing Kit says cheese, meat, pasta, everything is covered then.
Yeah. We've got a question. We've got a question from Kenneth M, but we'll continue this and we'll come back to Kenneth's question in a moment.
Okay. Philip Rose says Korean meatballs. Yes, they are.
Jaffa cake sandwiches.
Oh, really?
No. Is a Jaffa cake? Is it a cake or a biscuit?
So does that make it a biscuit sandwich or a cake sandwich? I
Mm.
think we're mixing our species there. Robert Blaylock says, at least there are no Canadians in the chat. They'd surely say poutine. I actually need to try poutine. I've never tried it. I really want to. It looks intriguing.
Never tried that. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Cold chili con carne and dairy and sliced bread, says Paul Stewart.
Beef stew. Oh, beef stew, yeah. Who said something? Somebody... Oh, Lord Barclay III to me says toasted corned beef sarnie. Actually,
I can't do corned beef. No, sorry. No.
You banned, Ted. You just banned.
Shadowland Scale Model says the cakes. Jaffers are a cake because they go hard.
Okay. Nate Bliss says Golden Wonder is often attainable in Lidl's. I didn't know they're still around.
Probably imported somewhere.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned carrot cake. Fox says, Mr. Lust Model Making. Vincent says, Fox, Vertelstamp is carrot mash, basically. Oh, yeah.
Is that like Bubble and Squeak that we talked about the other night? Or?
I think it's just carrot mashed up with maybe some butter, I'm going to guess, and some pepper.
Yeah.
Although now I'm thinking about neeps and tatties. Scottish neeps and tatties. Yeah.
Mick Gregory says fish finger sandwiches. Now, you get them in posh restaurants now, can't you? Whereas we, the commoner, invented fish finger sandwiches. They now sell them in high-end restaurants and charge you 50 quid a fish finger.
TK clarifies further. He says, Fox, it is carrots and onions mashed in potatoes with the rookwurst I sent you back in the day. Yeah. That rookwurst was a bit disappointing, actually, because you know you go in the shop and you get them bendy sausages, one big bendy sausage like that, and you just cut it out and you eat it cold or you can heat it. It was that TK sent me one of those, and I thought, oh, this will be some great Dutch version, some great Netherlands version. It was like, no, it's just like the one I get from the corner shop. But no, no.
Yeah.
Chris says, damn it, why did I ask this? Now I'm hungry.
Off you go. Make us all one, will you? Cheese and tomato squash sandwich, please.
Yes. Right, what was Kenneth's question?
Right, we'll go back to the question. It's in capitals, so we can find it.
Oh, I've got it. Do you want me to read it?
Go on, you read it.
Yep, and I'll let you answer. Kenneth says, question.
Yeah, go on.
Kenneth says, question, do you have to prime if you are going to brush paint a figure?
Personally, I would. It depends how big the figure is, but personally, I'd always prime anyway. It just brings everything together, gives your paint a better grip than just on the bare plastic. Some people may say not, but I certainly will. Try not to overload the primer though. Just a quick blast of primer, and yeah, just to give the paint something to grip on, really.
Yep, I agree. My golden rule is, if you think it doesn't need primer, prime it. If you think it needs primer, prime it. Paint doesn't stick well to any kind of plastic, and especially if you're using acrylics, because acrylics are the most delicate of all paints. If you're using acrylics, they're quite delicate and they don't really grip to plastic at all very well. So whatever you're making, whatever kind of model it is, always prime, because the primer bonds to the plastic in a way that paint doesn't. Some primers chemically etch into the plastic, and some they're just designed to grip. The primer bonds to the plastic, and then the paint goes onto the primer and has a good grip. The paint can grip onto the primer because it has a rough surface. It can't stick to the smooth plastic. So if in doubt, prime, but generally always prime.
Yeah. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't bother priming." But yeah, I always do. It takes minutes to do. Gives you a nice smooth finish. It's not necessarily the case in figure painting, but if you've built a model, put it together, it will highlight any flaws before you go any further.
Yeah, and it depends what you make it, especially if you're making something like a Gunpla, for example, where you do a lot of the painting before you assemble it. And if you just paint a Gunpla right over the plastic with acrylics, you might be all right. But like I said, acrylics are the most delicate of paints, and they're easily removed and scratched and scuffed, and you're just handling them. Especially things like the ammo paints, the Citadel paints, they can be removed quite easily. So if you've not primed and you paint a piece and you're then putting your Gunpla together, for example, and you're pushing bits together and everything, I guarantee you'll take paint off some of the corners if you don't prime, because it can't grip. You probably will take some paint off the corners even if you do prime, because that's how delicate acrylic paints can be, and that's how much manhandling Gunpla need. But just yes, always prime. If you're not sure, prime it.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Right. Good question. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. And if you are doing anything, always post your pictures across the eModels Facebook page. If you've got any models, post them across there, and everybody can have a look at them.
One thing I would say, because a lot of people find priming a right pain. The old argument of, do I airbrush primer or do I rattle can primer? Both are good. I tend to, if it's a really, really big model, I'll tend to use a rattle can if I can go outside and it's not cold and wet and horrible. Purely because speed, I could spend hours and hours airbrushing a really big model, and it would kill me because I'd have to every now and then I'd have to stop and clean the airbrush out because it does gunk up your airbrush. So if it's a really massive model, use rattle cans. To me, a rattle can primer is really, really good. The Army Painter primer is really, really good. To me, a rattle can primer is actually, I would say, the best primer. Full stop. Because it's as hard as nails. It's more like a lacquer primer. It's as hard as nails, but they don't do it in black. If you're going to airbrush it, UMP. Okay, this is where it gets confusing. The UMP Ultimate Primer, which is also the Ammo by MIG one-shot primer, which is also Badger Style now res. That's the best airbrush primer by far I've come across. I could be wrong, but in my experience, because they're the easiest to use. But if it's a really massive model and it's not horrible outside, go outside and rattle can it. It's a lot faster. Get yourself some Tamiya or some Army Painter primers. If it's a really tiny model, and you say you're doing a figure and it's this big and you're doing one figure, it's kind of not worth getting the airbrush out just for that. So again, you could rattle can it. But if you're going to be there for a while and you've got a few things to do, or you've got a good sized model, you can airbrush it. Either is good. There's nothing wrong with rattle can. A lot of people think that rattle canning primer is kind of an amateur thing to do. It's not. You can get just as good results. I primed my big Master Chief with the Army Painter Black, and it came out brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we talk about airbrushing or rattle canning primer, but primer does go on better if it's not paint brushed. It's smoother and it will lie flat. It's a far easier way to prime than adding it with a brush, rather than slapping it on.
Slap it on, Ted.
Slap it on. Slap it on. Yeah.
I like the way you just give a pause and then do the little bits so somebody can take that out of the video. People, you need to be getting these clips out of the videos and making them into little animated GIFs. Yes, Ted is right. Ideally, you want to spray a primer. You can brush primers, but you risk the primer doesn't need to be thick. It needs to be a very, very thin coat that gives grip to the paint and doesn't obscure the details. If you brush it on, it'll still do that, but it'll be a lot thicker. So if you can, rattle can it or airbrush it. It's really not recommended to brush it on unless it's a small, tiny piece and you don't need to spray it. I wouldn't recommend it. All primers work best sprayed.
Yeah, and like we just said, if it's a really tiny piece, I've just sometimes thought I can't be bothered priming this, and I've just gone across it a bit. Particularly if it's going to be a piece that's not going to be handled, it's going to be set back, sort of inside something. Just paint it And away you go. Yeah, you can get away with it sometimes.
And the other thing to bear in mind as well is one of the beauties of primers, if you can get a black primer, depending on what you're going to paint the model, but if you get a black primer, you can also use that as a pre-shade coat. If you're, say, painting, like with my Eagle, I've painted the command module black, and I'm going to paint the model white. But I'm going to build the white up slowly in such a way that in some of the recessed areas, as much paint won't go in. So on the flat raised areas, there'll be lots of nice white paint, but where it's hard to get to, or any recesses, there'll be less paint. So it'll go from white to grey and then fade. So you can get some good shadowing and pre-shading effects by just doing an overall black primer coat. It doesn't work for every colour. If you're painting a model, you know, say yellow or a bright green, it might not work because it'll discolour the red or the yellow or the green. But it's a good way of, if you don't want to do pre-shading on your panel line, just paint the whole thing black.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
People are still talking about food in the chat, by the way.
I'm hungry now. I've just had my tea as well because it was a late night from work, and I've just had my tea dashed in here.
Somebody mentioned roasted puffin, totally banned. Totally banned now. TK, get the ban hammer out. We have another question from Philip Rhodes.
Oh, I had to miss that.
When you do questions, by the way, guys, if you can, put the whole question in caps, because then, as I say, it stands out for us. Put the whole question in caps, because then we can go, there's a question. Philip Rhodes says, question, does anyone remember, this is going to be UK, does anyone remember an episode of 1970s Blue Peter which featured a large-scale working model fire engine? Does anyone else remember it? I'd love to know what happened to it.
I don't remember that one. I was a bit. I know you were a Magpie fan. I was a Blue Peter fan.
No, I was a How fan.
How? Oh yeah, How was up. Yeah,
I was more of a How than a Magpie. Although Magpie was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I was never really a Blue Peter watcher though. I do have a Blue Peter. My brother had a Blue Peter badge.
Oh, well, what, pinched it?
No, I don't know how he got it. I don't know what he did, but I remember there was one in a drawer somewhere. We have one in this house somewhere.
I know.
If anybody in the comments remembers that, let him know.
Yeah, let him know. Matthew, I've still got your T-shirt. It's here. I'm looking after it for you. I'll get it into the post when I'm on my next days off. As I say, my time off at the weekend was a bit spoken for, and I didn't get around. I totally forgot about posting it out to you. I'll get it out to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Stewart mentions fricadella. Oh, I love fricadella, but I can't eat more than say once a serving because after that I feel really ill. They're so rich.
Kenneth, I think Kenneth is following up on that one. Should you have a separate airbrush for primer, and what size needle is good for priming? Personally, no. I haven't got a separate airbrush for a primer. Some people do. Some people have rows and rows of airbrushes, and yeah, I would think about a 0.4 would be good for general all-round everything.
Yep. Yeah. I can say for a fact I use my Neo Free Water for my priming because I use, when I airbrush primer, it's the UMP Ultimate Primer, which is the Steinau Res or the Ammo One Shot. It's all the same stuff.
That one.
Yeah. Or it's also known as Ammo by Me One Shot or the Badger Steinau Res.
Sorry, I can't reach them.
That's a really nice primer that you can put on super thick and it'll level out nicely and not lose any details. It does say on the bottle go for a 0.4 or bigger nozzle, but this is a 0.35 and it works. You have to add a little tiny bit of thinner sometimes. So for the UMP stuff, Badger / Steinau Res / Ammo One Shot, 0.35 onwards, you should be fine. Some primers are thicker and you want to go for a 0.4 or 0.5. But I personally would say if you're going to airbrush it, get the UMP stuff / Badger / Ammo One Shot because it's the best airbrush primer.
Yeah. That's another thing about primers as well. People talk about thinning them. I don't know if you mentioned you thin your primers.
If I use the UMP stuff, I put like a tiny amount of thinner sometimes, just a little bit, just to because it's only a 0.35. So
yeah, I know there's a bit of a discussion on it whether or not to thin primers. I personally, I don't thin my primers. I think they're designed to go on. If you need to thin a primer, then it doesn't, in my mind, become a primer. But it's to everybody's taste, and I think that just a drop like that is just sort of more or less wetting the needle just to get it through.
I mean, I've got a 0.5 airbrush as well, and I don't thin it for that. Vincent from Mr. Loves Model Making does say, Fox, MIG bottles actually call out for a 0.3 or higher does seem a bit thinner than the original Stein arrows. It may well be they thin it a tiny little bit. But if you've got a 0.4 or a 0.4, if you've got a 0.5 airbrush, you're fine. You don't need to thin most primers.
Yeah, I just generally, I think there's a 0.4 in my airbrush, and I just tend to push everything through it.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is if you're priming something and it's a big model, ideally you want a bigger airbrush purely because you can prime it faster. If you've got a 0.5 nozzle, you're going to cover more of the model in one go in a pass than you are with, say, a 0.3, because you get a bigger spray of paint. So that's the one advantage of rattle cans. They cover everything dead quickly. It's just like, there you go, done. But you have to use them outside, and so it's not ideal.
Can you not, Ron Max says, can you not just spray a thin coat before you put the main coat on instead of primer?
No.
no, it doesn't work the same. I think, as Fox pointed out before, primer is intended to make that bond between your plastic and your main coat.
Yeah, the paint. If you do a thin coat first, the paint on top of that thin coat will grip to the thin coat because you're doing like a key coat, but the key coat itself isn't going to go onto the plastic. So it really is a case of you need to prime purely to get that surface gripping to the plastic. If you're making a resin kit, there's a wholly different reason to prime, and that is because resin is porous, and the paint, you want the primer to be a block between the resin and the paint.
Yep, I think that covers priming.
Yes,
but feel free, if we haven't answered your question, I've got want to know more about it, do ask us. We don't profess to know everything, but if we don't know, we'll try and find out and get back to you.
Matthew Drake asked a question here. You might know this one, Ted. Question: I recently bought a photo etch bender. All I can see now is bender in my head saying, "Bite my shiny metal ass." A photo etch bender, when bending and gluing it, can leave a mess. Would soldering solve this problem? You wouldn't use one for gluing.
No, I think you need to persevere. Make sure your photo etch is clean it off, give it a bit of a fine emery down, clean it off, try your glue. Soldering is only good for large parts. If it's a really tiny part like this, it's really tiny. I actually have soldered this one, but that's because I have a solder paste, which is a flux and a solder mixed into as I say, it's a paste. It's almost in liquid form.
Oh, Ted's broken. Oh, you broke there, Ted.
Am I broken?
You went liquid form and then you stopped.
Yeah, it's in liquid form. It's a little bit difficult to find. I found this at Telford, actually. I found it at a model stall in Telford. Soldering is really difficult to grasp and get the knack of it unless you've got temperature variable soldering irons. I'd suggest, if you're just getting into PE, is persevere and keep going with the super glue. Just use drops of it. Sometimes you need a little bit of patience. You think it's instant glue, you need a little bit of patience just to let it go off. And try not. One secret I have found is try not to move the joint at all, and the glue will sort of bond itself then. Yeah.
Do you have a question from Rusting Customs?
Mm-hmm.
He says, question. I don't think there's any way we can answer this. Question: any tips on scratch building a 1/72 scale fighter aircraft wing aerofoil shape?
1/72. What I could suggest is that you go to the large scale RC aircraft guys, get a plan off them or from the places they deal with it, a plan for an aircraft, and then downscale the plan through photocopying, downscale it, and then build it on that. Depends what you're going to build it out of, whether you're going to build it out of balsa, plastic, or anything like that. But that's...
I don't know how you would, if you're making it out of plastic, I don't know how you would carve the cross section. If you're doing it, the only way I can think of doing it is the traditional way of using, say, thin balsa or something, or even plastic card to make all the ribs and struts, and then cover it, because I don't know in plastic how you're going to carve that wing profile. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how you mean build the profile of the wing. If you're going to build it as Fox says, in the ribs and the struts, and then skin it, yeah,
that could be easy to do. If you're going to build it as and just form the shape, you could do it like we used to make our holes, and that's make a template for each inch. Maybe say your wing is this long. Probably not if it's on 1/72, but each inch you would make a form. You would make a template that you would fit. How can I explain it? You carve it, try your template, see where it needs to come off, carve the next one, see where the template needs to come off, and then sort of right.
It's one of those. It's one of those processes that it's kind of a super advanced technique. It's literally sculpting.
Yeah,
but sculpting in the way that somebody would go and sculpt a car for a wind tunnel or in a production facility. It's quite an advanced technique. So short of actually getting a wing and vacuum forming around it or taking molds, I wouldn't have a clue how you do it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be sure what you would sculpt it from to get a nice smooth cross section, because if you're making the whole wing, you want to get the profile, the cross section profile. I don't know how you do that. Yeah, without sort of many years of experience.
Yeah, it's really a way of how we used to form our holes. You would make a template, you'd carve the hole to that template, then an inch down you'd carve the hole to that template, and then between the two there'd be a hump. There'd be a hump which you would then carve off until it was smooth between the 2 points. You get what I mean?
I take it the template will be the cross section, not the side profile.
Yeah, right? I can't think of the right name of it. It's if you have a hull, if your hull was like that and end on, you'd make a former that would fit over there. It's just sort of a shadow former that you'd fit on, and if you'd see, all right, I need to take off there and there, so you'd file them and then try your former again. Right, I need to take off a little bit there, and then further down there'd be another one. You make another one here. Are you with me so far? And then you'd file that down, and then between that point there and that point there, you'd have a hump, which you would then smooth off until the 2 points were together.
So what you're making is you're making the form it has the is like, say if you're making that, the former would be the outside shape of it. It would be that. So you'd be making this shape, and then you'd make another one that was a bit smaller and a bit as you got further towards the tip of the wing.
Yeah.
So it's like making the ribs for the wing, but in negative, in reverse. Wow, that's a really complicated question.
Yeah, I could show you. I could show you how to do it. I'll come round your house. Give me a address. I'll come round and show you. Right, where were we? Question I really bought for the way. Right, I've done that one.
Dave Weiser Gunbark says, Ted, please don't press any buttons.
Yeah, I'm not pressing the buttons. Dave Moore said, Ted. Is a lady in the room? Is there a lady in the room?
Lynn's in the room. Hi, Lynn.
Lady's in the room. Liquid form is Ted Odo.
Yes, any more questions from the chat while we're waiting? I'm just scrolling through and see if we missed anything. Oh, here we go. Ron Mac. Oh, go on, Ted, you do it.
Again. What's the best and easiest way to paint 135 scale wheels for a Tiger tank? With lots of patience. I take it, are you on about painting the tyres, or are you on about painting the whole wheels? If you're on about painting the whole thing, just lots of sticky clips and then spray the lot together. If you're on about painting tyres,
Tamiya rubber black.
Yeah, the tyre black around.
I always used to do it just very carefully.
Yeah,
you always get a little raised lip, don't you? So I used to just get a very fine brush and just work it around.
Yeah, or you can get a template now that you can paint. You can paint the outside of the tyre, and then put the template over it that masks off the tyre, and then you can spray or paint on the inside. I haven't got one. I did what I did. I made them. I made some templates with a little Ulfa screw paper cutter, little cutting compass, cut out a circle the right shape, and just made some templates just to cut them. There's lots of ways about doing that on the internet, actually, on YouTube. Lots of people paint tyres. Have a look at that.
If you're lucky though, then if your wheel does have a raised lip before the actual road wheel part, the rubber part, often just careful painting can work as well, if you're not able to make any kind of mask. And if you're going to make it really mucky and muddy, of course, you're going to be covering all that up with washes and panel washes and dirt and dust anyway. So
yeah, right.
I don't think we've got any more questions at the moment.
Mr. no need to waste.
Apparently Lynn's called you Teg.
Ah,
Hi, Fox and Teg.
Hi, Fox and Teg. I answer to anything. Doesn't matter. I'll answer to it. If you're looking in my direction, because I can't hear you. If I haven't got my hearing aids in, I can't.
David Moore says, I've seen enough films, never push the red button. And that's aimed at you there, Tedward.
Yeah, which colour wire should I cut? Should I cut the red one or the blue one?
Oh, whichever one is the wrong one.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other questions, not at the moment.
Right. What time are we on?
Vincent does say, Mr. Lost Model Maker says, for planes and armour, Edouard is the usual suspect for photo etch and paper masking sets. Yes, Edouard do a lot of things like masking sets and things like that. Yeah,
there is a plastic template out there, and I think you can actually use, if you go to the stationers and use some of these templates that draftsmen and such use, you can get some templates that actually fit. They'll actually fit a 1/35th scale wheel in.
Shadowland Scale Model says capillary action will work around a wheel with paint. I would actually say, if I was doing it myself personally, I would use, I haven't got it here, but something like a Citadel's Null Oil, Citadel Shade Null Oil. However, if you can't get Null Oil, you can actually make your own. It's just distilled water, a tiny dot of washing up liquid, and some dark or black paint. If you're doing a wash, then yes, if you get a dark colour, the colour you want, like the, say, Tamiya rubber black or something, thin it down quite a lot. Do it over the road wheel part, the rubber part, let it dry, do another coat, let it dry, do another coat. It will eventually go the color you want, because you're just adding it in very thin coats. But it will glom. If you imagine the wheel is here, there's the metal part, and here's the rubber part. So you've got your wheel like that, and there's the profile. It will kind of glom to the edge anyway, and it won't go up the side. So you could do it as a sort of a wash of many layers as well. Good choice. Good suggestion there.
Yeah. Lynn says she's now got you and I on the big screen. So,
wow, look at the size.
Well, look at the size of this.
It's in America, so it must be at least a 50 screen.
Look at the size. Oh, yeah, look at the size.
I know, it's like, I can see all the way over there.
I've got room I can stretch out now.
I can see your front yard from here, Lynn. How big that telly is.
Yeah. I'd move that off the coffee table if I were you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that in public view.
Right, we missed a question there. Shadowland Scale Models, have you ever made your own decals stickers? Have you ever made your own? You had some made, didn't you?
I haven't, although I will at some point. I just don't have a printer. But I do at some point need to get a printer and some decal paper, because I can design stuff in Photoshop, and I've got Photoshop. I can do all my own designs. It's just I need a printer, but I would like to. At the moment, I tend to use various third-party. A lot when I do custom decals, it's for things like Gundams. So I just either have a big stash of Gundam decals, or I buy third-party ones, or I go to Samuel Decal and he makes them up, or I go to other people that make decals. Most of them are pretty good. Some of them are pretty bad. Yes, I do need to at some point.
I had a go at making mine once. I think I bought a kit, and included in that kit was some decal paper and some fixative, which I know now is just a varnish, and I think it was quite expensive for a piece of paper about that big. I think I made a right hash and a mess of it. That was a long time ago, mind, and I've never really bothered again. I know people do, and they're quite successful at it. But
yeah, it has come along where you can get some really good decal papers and fixatives now. I think Papyrus is one of them. They're one of the better decal papers, but there's different ones out there. The only thing to bear in mind is when you're printing your own decals, you can't print white.
Yeah.
You either have to get white decal paper, and then you've got the whole, so you have to print the white parts on white decal paper and cut them out so there's no film, and then put the other decal on the top, or paint the white bits and put the decal on, or design decals that don't have white in them.
No.
But often pre-paint your own printed decals can be a lot more translucent than the ones you get in a model kit. So they can, if you print a yellow thing and you stick it on a model, it can kind of fade away because they can be quite
Yeah.
Not quite as bright and bold.
Yeah, and sometimes I think the decal paper is the thicker than you would get from like cartograph or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's quite.
But it's worth trying it because you never know.
By the time
It is doable.
I think, yeah, it's doable. But I think by the time you've gone out and bought the paper, had to go at your printer, spent all evening trying to do it, maybe for a couple of quid, you could just get some custom made ones.
It's actually, I'll be honest with you, it's actually really hard to get custom made ones. There's only a small number of people that do it. And there are lots of companies that print decals, and lots of them use things like Alps printers. But most of the people who do will print decals for you, they want you to do a run of 10,000 sheets. Yeah. And if you do find one that will let you do a single sheet of decals, they'll charge you an absolute fortune, because a lot of the people that do them are actually companies that just do massive runs, so they won't entertain small runs. There's only a very small number of people like that will go, can you print a single sheet of this decal? And they'll be like, yep, no problem. Have a hunt around online. Samuel Decal is one. He's kind of famous for doing them in the Gunpla world, and they are really good quality. They are really, really good. But there's a few others, some of whom are really good, some are a bit rubbish, but yeah. It's worth trying it yourself just to avoid the hassle of having to find someone to print them for you.
Well, check you up on that. Yeah. Right. Any more questions?
I don't think we do at the moment. Should we go and see what's in store?
Should we go see what's in store?
Yeah, see what's in store.
I tell you what, we do have the winner from last week to announce.
Yes.
Do you? We could go across. Let me share the screen. I'll lock it on me.
Do you want to do the winner first, or do you want to do what's in store?
Do the winner first, because I've got the screen.
Okay.
Share.
I have the winner here.
I've got to find the screen. And the competition last week was to win this. If you remember, Peter came along right at the very end of the program and says, let's give some away. And we decided, after a bit of talking about
Boy, howdy did we ever.
What was in stock and what wasn't in stock. And then we found something to give away and found that wasn't in stock. And we came up with this, and we're going to give this away. It was the previous week's what's in store. It's the Norton Commando Cafe Racer. Excellent kit by Italieri, 1/9 scale. And could you announce the winner, please, Mr. Fox?
Yes, I did the random comment thing through a random comment picking website. We had 66 comments, most of which were saying, what was it? Thanks, Pete Mate, I think was what they had to say. Yeah. Thank you, Pete Mate, they had to say. 66 comments, and the winner was comment number 41, which is Gareth Todd.
Well done, Gareth.
Gareth Todd is the winner of that rather awesome motorbike.
Yeah, if you get in touch with myself or the guys directly at eModels, if you go onto the eModels if you go to the eModels website, emodels.co.uk, and go down to the contact form and send them your address and details, and they will get this kit off to you. Or if you don't want to do that, you can contact me at ted@emodels.com.
I shall put that email address in the chat.
Yeah. And if you're not watching live tonight, if you're watching us on catch up, I'll put a link down in the comments after the show about how to get in touch with them.
Yes. So well done, Gareth.
Well done. Yeah, I love the model that. And if you do get it built, obviously would like to see it. So send us a picture across to eModels on the Facebook page or the website, and they'll post it up, and it'll be a wonderful kit. That.
Yes. Gross Model says, is he here? I don't think he's here tonight in the chat, and I don't think he watched it live last week. Or he might be watching it live, but he wasn't in the chat. Yeah. He might be watching it live through the eModels website.
Yeah. That's part of the fun of this. That's why we do these the giveaways like this, that gives the people a chance that can't get in tonight because of one reason or another. Maybe they're at work or they don't have access to the internet at the particular time. But it gives them a chance to win a giveaway as well.
Yeah.
So, right. Let's have a look at what's in store. Now then, we were talking last week about Airfix and the Airfix nostalgia. I think we gave a couple of these kits away last week.
Mm-hmm.
And these kits are flying off the shelves. I've noticed tonight there's a Sherman Crab tank. I think it's one of the ones that we hadn't seen before. These are the original toolings, I believe. I don't know where Airfix got them from. These are not all the nostalgia kits, by the way, but these are some of the Airfix kits.
Yes, some of the ones in there are normal kits, but the nostalgia ones are in that section.
There's the Opel Blitz. That's one of the nostalgia kits. But if you want one, if it takes you back to your youth, one of the perhaps the first kits that you built. I can't see the chat at the moment. What was the first kit that you built? Can you remember?
Yeah, as people tell us, what was the first kit you ever built that you can remember? The one specifically we're talking about here are the old 1970s kits, like I can see one there, the Opel Blitz and Pack 40, and the pontoon bridge set, things like that. I'm not quite sure what's actually gone on, but basically eModels have got a big stock of these old vintage tooling kits, and whether they were just kind of found in a warehouse and they've got them, or whether they just appeared from somewhere, I don't know. But they're a one-time thing. They're old toolings. They may have since have been discontinued, or they may not be around anymore. But once they've all gone out of stock, that's it. They're not getting them back again. So if you've been looking at getting one of these old vintage kits just to relive your childhood and see what models were like in the 1970s, because trust me, it'll be an eye-opener, then go and snap them up. Yeah. There are lots of normal kits in here as well. Obviously, there wasn't a Mini Cooper in 1970-odd in the modern configuration, but all the little vintage ones are in that section.
Yeah, so this is the Airfix collection.
Yes.
Centurion tank. There's one there.
Let's have a look. We have some answers to that question. Oh god, we have lots of answers. David Moore's a Lancaster bomber. Vincent, Mr. Loves Model Maker, in Junkers JU88. Kenneth M. St. Andrew, SD St. Andrew. Yeah. Fluffy Guts. My first was the Red Barons plane. God, I remember that. Yeah. Von Holdinghalsen says his first Airfix was a 144th, and then he doesn't say what it was. So we don't know. We don't know what it was. Bashing Kits to Spitfire, probably. Shadowland scale models built a hovercraft.
Oh, that's different. Yeah, I think most people's kits are usually an Airfix, or not Airfix, but they would be
go back that far. It's especially in the UK, it's probably going to be an Airfix.
Yeah, it would probably only be So yeah, it would be usually an aircraft. Yeah. So there's lots of Airfix stuff in there anyway.
TK Model says, I've never built a kit in 1970s because it didn't exist in the 1970s. TK, you didn't live. You missed the best bit. The best decade, basically. 70s were the best decade.
Yeah, because people said if you can remember the 60s. You weren't there.
Yeah.
Is that what they said? Yeah.
Well, the 70s. Now is the best time to be living in the 1970s. Trust me.
Let's go and have a look and see what else is there. There's the Airfix nostalgia. Go along and have a look at that.
There is a big banner on the eModels front page to take you to the Airfix section. It says nostalgia or something like that. I can't remember.
Airfix nostalgia. Yeah. I think
so go and check it out. There's I don't know how many are left. There are some still left in stock, but once they've gone, they've gone. So
yeah, have a go. Yeah, even if you just get it and show it to your kids, this is what I built when I was your age, when we did it in the old days.
When I was a lad, it was great.
When I was a lad, it was great.
The reality is, of course, if me or you, Ted, got one of these kits, now I'd be like, holy gee, what the
Oh, did I really build that?
I think the rose tinted glasses would come off quite quickly.
Yeah, we never used to paint them either, did we? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Von Holdinghausen says it was an FX Wasser in 144th. I misread it and thought he said it was a 144th and then didn't say what it was. It was an FX Wasser.
Moving up to date. A couple of magazines in store this week. I think they've been released very recently. Damaged, the Weather and Worn Models magazine. This is issue 2.
Need to get that.
Lots. We've got some pictures of the insides. I'm not sure if we covered one of these last week.
I don't think we covered one last week now.
Yeah, but this is one of the latest releases. Is that an X-wing or a Y-wing or a?
Ted, just don't embarrass yourself. It's an X-wing. It's a new X-wing from the Force Awakens.
Oh, right.
Oh, Dameron's X-wing. I know my Star Wars cred, but yes.
Yeah. So you come on this program and you can learn anything about anything, even Star
Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah, even Star Wars.
There you
go. Corvette.
Submarine.
Yes, there's Corvette making seascapes for a flower class Corvette. Did you know
these magazines are always great because if you're looking at doing weathering, there's nothing wrong with doing a model with no weathering. It's just that weathering is the next level of awesomeness. And if you're looking at learning weathering, these kind of weathering magazines are a great resource because they don't just cover one type of model. Generally, they cover, like this one's got a spaceship and it's got a boat, and it's showing you how to do water and things like that. So
it's not a boat; it's a Corvette.
Well, it's not a plane, is it?
No.
It's not an X-wing, Ted.
Ah, right.
Actually, fair play. Yeah, okay. You call me out in the bar.
To be honest, this is the first time I've actually looked in detail at this magazine. I've seen the front picture, the banner picture, and I read the bit of the details on it. I've never actually looked at the photographs to show you what's inside it, and I didn't realise there was a seascape in there. So yeah, we often get questions about doing seascapes. So there you go. Yeah. What else is there?
Absolutely worth picking up these things. Nice bit of industrial weather in there if you do your dioramas with JCBs and things. Some of the best looking weather models I've ever seen have been things like backhoes and diggers and JCBs.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of hints and tips on scratches and chipping and paint streaks and things like that. It's all in there.
Yep.
Oh.
It's a Gundam.
Is it a Gundam?
It's a Gundam. Is it a Gundam? I can't see. It's too small. It's too small on my screen. It might not be a Gundam. Is it a Gundam? I can't tell. Hang on.
If anybody out there can see that, I don't know where it is.
Yes, I think it might be a Zaku, based on a Zaku or a Giara Zulu. Yes.
See,
it's a Gumpler. Let's just leave it at that.
We need to have a sit down, and we'll do flash. You'd have to give me some flashcards, and what's that? Star Wars, Star Trek. Yep, more industrial or weathering. Look at the detail in that.
Don't show them everything, Ted. They've got to buy the magazine, you know.
There it is. There's the magazine. It's available in English, English and Spanish.
Yep.
Spanish. Yeah. So next, there's that one. I'll do closer screen. That one. Right. I think there's another one next as well. In Combat 2 Mecha Battlegrounds.
Yes, this is the follow-up to In Combat, which I have here, but you can't see, but it's in my hand, and I'm waving it around. In Combat Painting Mecha. It is the Ammo by Mig weathering and painting guide. The first edition had a big RX-78-2 build and paint up in it, and I used that to paint my mega size RX-78-2. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, I've not seen this second edition, but in the first edition, basically the first build and the first sort of 10 pages was Mig Jimenez himself weathering a Gumpler, showing you how to do it step by step. And then throughout the rest of the book were other builders who went through their processes and the products they used to get the weathering effects. It's absolutely brilliant. So I can only assume this is going to be exactly the same, just as good. And that's a perfect grade strike Gundam, and I'm instantly interested.
Well, don't put that magazine away that you've got. Keep it to hand. We'll have a look at that when we come back to you.
Yeah, but yes, absolutely invaluable was the first one. So if you've got the first one, you want to pick this one up.
I don't forget that you could swap these techniques around. It doesn't have to be on a Gundam. The washes and the streaking could be on any model. So what's that one?
That's Zaku. Yes.
Zaku, Black Scorpion. I think they're really
heavily customized.
Is that background there from Stingray?
No, Ted. Deep sigh.
It looks like Stingray. Anything can happen in the next half hour.
Yes, but yes, the books are heavily geared towards Gumpler, but they are techniques that you can use on anything. So don't think, oh, don't do Gundams and Gumpler. I can't. You trust me, the techniques you'll learn in these magazines, you'll learn. You can apply to anything.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's not a Transformer. Shut up. Robert Blaylock says, "What the heck is a Gundam?"
Yeah, you and me stick together on that, Robert. Yeah.
Just look up Gunpla. You'll love it.
Yeah, lots of stuff. I believe as well, I think we've said it before, but I believe as well, there's a case in point. He has Tamiya. He doesn't just use Mig Jimenez. So
no, that's what surprised me. A lot of the builds, there's all different products in there, because I think typically the first one is his, and then it's other people making the other builds. It's not all Mig Jimenez. So there is often lots of other products in there. Even in Mig Jimenez's build, he's using like Tamiya pastels and things like that. So
Yeah, there's Tamiya there. There's Microsol, Microset there.
Yep. So you will learn lots of really valuable techniques using all kinds of products. It's an absolute great, even if you have no interest in Gunpla or Gundams or anything like that, get it anyway, just for the techniques, because you can apply those techniques to planes, cars, tanks. And to me, Meek Jimenez is one of the best weatherers out there. So
yeah,
if you want to learn from the best,
yeah, that's who we learn from.
Out.
Yeah.
I've still got mine now, and I still refer to it quite often. So
yeah, and we just saw this one as a bit of a fun. eModels are getting a whole load of Meg Ammo stuff in this week, and one of the things that we did see, if you want to build dioramas, sci-fi plants,
space plants,
space plants,
Ammo's little sort of diorama things like plants and shrubs and stuff. They're really good. I used the sort of brush and scrub on the transit build, and they are really, really good. So yeah, get yourself, if you want some funky looking space plants, grab some of these. They do lots of other ones as well, but we just picked out these because we just
thought this, saw this one because it was rather funny. Yeah. Right, let's have a look at some more up to date. This one.
Ooh, shiny car.
Shiny car. We don't often do shiny cars, but we thought we'd do a shiny car. The Corvette Stingray. I saw, the reason we picked this is because I thought I saw one in the Lake District this week. It could have been a Corvette. It might have been something totally red. Because that's all. Yeah, I'm not really.
It could have been anything really, couldn't it?
I'd have to discuss it with my friend Fox. He thought it was a Stingray, or the way I described it, he thought it was a Stingray because I said it certainly wasn't British and it wasn't Italian. It wasn't a Ferrari, so it could have been this. And I must admit, it did look a little bit like this.
Well, the kind of thing that made me that kind of made me think it might be this is because I said to you, did it sound like a big, loud American? And you were like, yes. I said, did it sound refined like a Ferrari? He was like, no, just this big, loud, shouty thing. Oh, it sounds American. It's probably a Stingray.
Yeah. Corvette. Yeah, I think it was followed by a tanker, so it must have been American.
Yes, it's fuel supply.
Yeah, fuel supply. So, yeah, that's the modern one. And we thought about that, and we thought, well, what's the difference between that and an old one? And on the same page was this.
Oh, now you know me, Ted.
Yeah.
This is where I always say, like, you can't beat proper American muscle cars from the 60s and 70s, and modern day American muscle cars are terrible. They're pathetic compared to the originals. This, to me, is a beautiful car.
Yeah. And
it's the car of astronauts. It's the car of astronauts.
There was something about them. They were simple-ish. They were simple. There wasn't any gadgets or gizmos inside them. There was maybe an 8-track Betamax player or something. Or
they were. I mean, put it this way: they were death traps, but they were damn good-looking death traps. So it was quite nice that we had both the original Corvette and a modern version, so you can see how rubbish the modern ones are compared to the originals.
And it's even got a guy in a chopper. It's even got a kid on a chopper bike.
Chopper.
Remember the chopper?
So yeah, that's the car that I reckon all the astronauts in NASA drove in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a Revel Corvette.
Fluffy Guts, that is the Ford Falcon model. I don't think there is in stock at the minute.
eModels have a smart search engine on the system now, so you don't have to go searching through lots and lots of text to find whatever you're searching for. You could just put, like here, you could, if you want a Corvette, you could put COR and it will come up with Corvette. It would preempt your search. So that's an easy way to find it. So
Lindiple confirms, yes, it was the car of astronauts.
Yeah.
I think they were just all given Corvettes.
Yeah, must have been. Yeah. NASA? Yeah, they have a NASA? Yeah, no. Anyway.
The thing is, just look at, I mean, that is a gorgeous car.
Oh, yeah, here's some
gorgeous
detail.
Car.
Oh, we've got some detailed pictures. Corvette. Yeah. Simple.
I mean, it's the way the wheel arches go up above the side. It's just, Now, there was, before the Stingray came out, before the Corvette came out, nobody knows this, there was a concept or a limited number run of what I've called the Mako, M-A-K, the Mako, another kind of shark. It didn't do very well because the humps above the actual wheels, the front wheels, were so tall that it really killed visibility. So if you want a really outstanding 60s, 70s American muscle car, look up the Mako. It's like that on steroids. And I know for a fact, I'm going to say it now, I know for a fact there's people in chat who can do a much better paint job than that.
Yeah.
So don't let the really bad Revell paint job put you off. I know there's people in the chat that would do a far superior job than that. Excellent.
So there's the Corvette, car of astronauts.
Yes, the space car of space people.
Yeah. Right, the last one. You spoke about this before. You showed us a brief introduction to your shiny spoons. Spoons. The C1 metallizing buffing powders. I think
I got to try this out today for the first time. I love it.
There's some stuff here. What's in the kit? Is that to give that sort of effect?
Yes, basically.
Right.
If you're not in a position to be able to spray alclads or really good metallic colors or anything like that, this is an option. It's basically a powder that you put on with an applicator and then buff with another small sort of buffing pad, and you can get super shiny chrome effects. Now it's best done over gloss colors, so say gloss black or gloss blue or gloss red or gloss green, and it's best done over lacquers or enamels. The one I'm going to show you in a bit, I did over some gloss black acrylic, and first of all, I suck at painting gloss anyway, and second, it's acrylic, so it's not as shiny as it could be, but you can get some amazing results. And it's like graphite powder. You put it on, buff it off, done. It's kind of tough, so you can handle it, and it's not going to take it all off. You might get fingerprints, but you can rub them off, and it is actually glossable.
We'll come back to you now.
Yes.
I'll give us a second, and you can show us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Infinity.
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 Out of focus.
Yeah, of course you're out of focus.
Focus.
Still got your banner though.
Still got a banner. Yeah, that's an unusual one.
Do you want to lock it on me, Tedward?
Yeah, I'll take it off me. Should be. Yep. Can everybody see Fox?
Hello.
Well,
So yes, I did some tests with it today. Now it doesn't look brilliant on camera here because, like I say, I used Tamiya Gloss Black X1, and to do it perfectly, what you really need is an enamel or a lacquer. Acrylic paints don't give the smoothest finish. Lacquers and enamels do give a nice, smooth, flat finish. So you can see here they're quite shiny metally. Now, if I'd used, say, a gloss black enamel, that would have been even brighter and sparklier. But I was just doing a quick test, so I didn't have any black enamel. But it gives this wonderful metallic sheen, which is a bit dull, like I say, because of the acrylic. This was just, what we've got here is, this is literally gloss paint, and then the powder on, and I buffed it, and that's it. It's not even covered up. And if I put my finger on it, nothing comes off, and it doesn't tarnish it. You might get the occasional fingerprint, but you can just buff it back off again. This one, I did exactly the same, but then I gave it a coat of Pledge Floor Care Finish, 2 times more shine. 2 times more shine. And it hasn't actually diminished it that much. It's still a little bit, it's a tiny bit duller, but it hasn't made a massive amount of difference. So it is gloss coatable, which is the one big thing about many sort of metallic products. If you put them on, you can't put a gloss coat over them because they go dull or they turn grey. This stuff, you can gloss over it and it doesn't diminish it too much. Now, when I do the real thing, I'll actually use some black enamel, gloss black enamel, and I'll see if it comes out even more shiny, and I think it will. The only thing to be aware is you can't in any way, shape or form polish the black. So when you spray your darker glossy colours, say black, blue or red or whatever you want to do, paint it, but don't put a gloss over it and don't sand it. Whatever the paint is, just leave it. It needs a slight texture for the powder to grip properly. So prime it, paint it the gloss colour you want, rub the powder on, immediately buff it off, done. It's really worth trying some out. It's really nice, and it's a lot easier than trying to spray alclads and stuff.
Robert Blaylock must be a user of it, because a word of advice: wear a mask or you'll bleed.
Yes, you do get in the box. You do get a pair of gloves. You will need these because, trust me, this stuff goes everywhere. Put down some paper. You get your C1 metallizer. I won't open it because I'll be asking for trouble. And you do get a small mask. And you get some applicators as well. So you do get a little sort of surgical mask that comes with it. But yes, I don't think it's just a big pot full of graphite powder. I think it's something a bit more advanced than that. but it's a fine powder. It will go everywhere. So put down some paper. Use newspaper, because then when you've finished, you can get the powder and you can put it back in the pot. That pot will last me years. You apply it with like the little applicators that come with Tamiya weathering passes, that kind of little applicator. Just rub it on, buff it off, done. Dead easy, dead simple. And the fact I can gloss varnish it, I'm loving that.
Or shine on.
It's actually darker than I was expecting, but that's because I've used crappy black gloss paint and done a bad job of it with a bad texture. But I'll be doing some dry brushing and stuff, but it's just a test.
That's what spoons are for.
If you did that over gloss black enamel, you could probably get that looking really chromy. If you did it through, say, over gloss blue, you'd have a blue tinge to it, or gloss red, it'd have a red tinge to it, because it's kind of semi-translucent. So give it a try. It's worth checking out. Just as a comparison, that's one I did with just Tamiya chrome silver, just painted on. So there you go. It's probably not even coming out on crappy webcam, but there you go. So it's worth checking out. It's really, really good stuff. Dead easy to use. An idiot can use it. I mean, I used it, so there you go.
Excellent.
Done. Next.
Have
you unlocked from me?
Yes. Yep. Well, we're up and running. I just noticed the time is getting up. We've been doing a great chat tonight.
Yeah.
I am sort of reverberating back from your speakers, I think, Fox.
Are we? Okay, let me turn mine down a bit then. Is that any better?
1 2 1 2.
Again, let me turn it away from my speakers a little bit.
Yeah.
Chris Gross Model says, how can you polish inside grooves? Yeah, it's kind of tricky. Cotton bud. Get a pointy cotton bud, or the little applicator is literally it's literally a round makeup. You know, the little flat round ones. It's literally one of those. Just get some and just fold it into a groove.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't quite polish it, it looks a little bit darker, which is then just pre-shading. There you go. You just shaded in the groove. Done.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right, any more questions from you guys out there? Model making or otherwise? We seem to
Ron Mack did say, go on, Fox, play the spoons.
Yeah,
I'm just reading through them. Edward Grabo says it's not the camera, it's the gin.
That must be me. Went out of focus. Yeah, it's the gin.
Robert Blaylock says, can't hear Ted. Can you hear Ted now?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, mother? Can you hear me? I'm on telly. Can you hear
London
me?
calling. London calling.
Get into the groove, says Ron. Yeah, polish the groove. Polish. Yeah, as I say, shine on. Shine on.
Yes, I will be using, by the way, that C1 powder on the engine bells for the Eagle. That's why I got it. That's why I got the guys at eModels to send it to me, because I just don't want to paint the metal. So I'm going to be using that. And what I'll probably do is that, gloss varnish it, and then dry brush with some Tamiya chrome silver or with some graphite. So putting graphite over that with a gloss varnish, it's going to look smart. You're going to like it, trust me. Ted has an Echo now, apparently.
I've got an Echo now, but I've got no speakers. I've only got my earbud in. Oh, right.
Shadow Landscale Model says, question, what have you got in your arms, Ted, on your avatar?
Do you mean this one down here? It's it's my big tank. Yes, it's my big tank. It's I think the guys at eModels, we had to send the pictures of ourselves in, and then the guys at eModels had somebody do the avatar, and I think the last build was the big tank.
Yes, it was a 1/16 scale Tiger 4.
Tiger 4, yes.
Yep.
It's down at eModels. Awesome. If you're ever passing eModels, drop in the store. It's in the cupboard. You can have a look.
Yep, it's in the glass cabinet at the front. I really don't know where they're going to put my Eagle when I finished it.
Or the submarine.
Yeah, let's not think. They'll have to build a cabinet like up in the air by then. I mean, hopefully by then they'll be in the new premises next door, so they'll have more space. They can just use that entire warehouse next door just for your submarine.
Yep.
This is the submarine. This is the U-boat wing.
And Fox looks like he's holding a surfboard.
I can't remember what mine looks like. Let me look at mine. What have I got in mine? I'm just kind of going.
Hey.
Yes. If you're finding me looking like this, by the way, it's because I have to look round the camera to see what's on my screen.
Yeah, I've got my camera sort of in the screen as well, so that when I'm looking at you, I'm actually looking at the camera, and I don't have to think, because a lot of people, when they do this, we try not to do it ourselves, but it happens. They sort of watching the screen over here, the camera's over here. So
I must admit, the one thing that drives me nuts when people do YouTube videos to camera is when they're talking, but they're not looking at the camera, so they're talking like this. And it's actually really hard not to do it, to keep looking at the camera, But when you people like, I've seen live stream people do a live stream and they spend the whole thing looking at the chat, or they look at the screen of themselves, and it's like, look at the camera. So I always apologize if I'm not looking at the camera when I'm talking, because it's really infuriating when you watch that.
Kenneth M says, what is a good scale for a first tank build? Is bigger better? It could go for any model of this, really. I would start with something small, simple, and easy.
I'd say 1/35th Tamiya.
Yeah, 1/35th Tamiya. This one, the Challenger tank, that actually features on a set of eModels videos as a beginner's build. So if you want to have a look at that, it's really a great model to get and start off, because it's easy. It's a case of shaking the box, and a model falls out.
Yeah, the beauty with Tamiya is that for a long time, Tamiya were like the best of the best at tanks, and if you bought a model tank, it would be a Tamiya. Nowadays, you've got your Dragon, your Trumpeter, and stuff like that. But if you've never done a tank before and you've got no idea and you just want to try one out, you can't go wrong with Tamiya. They're not too complex. The 1/35th ones, they're not too complex, so you're not getting all the millions and millions of parts of, say, 1/16th, which is just massive.
And you're not
but you're also maybe not getting all the sort of the extra photo etch parts and 3 billion parts that you might get in a Trumpeter or a Dragon kit, something like that. It's just a nice, straightforward 6 or 7 sprues, good fun build, just to see if you like tanks. If you like tanks and you think that's great, I like that, then you can look at some of their bigger scale ones. Tamiya do some 1/16ths. Was your Panzer a Dragon?
No, it was a Trumpeter.
Trumpeter do a number of 1/16 scale. The pinnacle are 1/16 scales because they're massive and they're great fun to paint and weather. But I say if you're just starting out, Tamiya 1/35th, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, go and have a look at that Challenger tank on the eModels video. If you go to eModels YouTube page and have a look in the playlist, there's the Challenger tank as a beginner. And I do it in such a way that it's one of these builds where you don't need fancy tools. You don't need all the tools. You can just buy nail polishers and files and things from the panel store, get yourself building it, and then you can move on, decide what you want to do.
Nate Bliss does say a Tamiya Panzer 2 is a good start, and I've done that one. It's a classic.
Any of the Tamiya kits are pretty good. Yeah, they're simple, easy. There's nothing wrong with them.
The other reason to do a Tamiya as well is because they always come with figures, and Tamiya's figures are really, really, even the old toolings, they're actually really good for 1/35th scale. Like Italeri can't do figures at all. Revell can't do figures, they do figures even worse than Italeri. But Tamiya's figures, I mean, nowadays they're incredible, but even going back 30 years, they're figures, sculpts. So it's also great practice at painting 1/35th scale figures as well.
Bob Bobbington says his first tank was a plane.
Plus, I just got that. The other good thing about Tamiya kits, some of the older kits, they always have a little cartoon character in the instructions to guide you through.
Yeah.
If you're building like German armor from World War II, it's like a comedy Nazi. He's there in his tank uniform with his little hat, and he's always doing silly things. It's just bizarre. This is going back 30 years. So it's the only kits you'll get with a comedy German tanker in it.
And the Tamiya kit, although I've done that video as well, that's a Challenger. You'll find throughout the internet, throughout YouTube, people building all the other tanks. So you can, if you're starting off, get into it. It's an easy one to do.
They've been around the longest, so everybody at some point has made a Tamiya tank.
Yeah.
My first proper painted model that I ever did, proper built and painted model, was a Russian T62A Tamiya, and it was brilliant. In fact, I recommend that one. My personal recommendation, Russian T62A from Tamiya. It's a beautiful kit.
Right, it's getting off 10:30. I think we'll do the mug giveaway. Should we do the mug giveaway?
Yeah, go on then.
We'll keep it simple. We'll do it like we did last week. For an eModels mug.
eModels mug.
eModels mug. If you've won a mug before, you're quite welcome to take part and win another mug. You can win as many as you want. However, if you
we're getting bad echo from you apparently, Ted. Let me turn my volume down. Is that better?
Yeah. Echo. Gone again. Yeah, it must be two. Right. Yeah, what was it? Yeah. If you want a mug, you're quite welcome to enter. If you want a mug and you don't want a mug, but you know the answer, please don't answer until the others have answered. The answer's fairly simple anyway. It's just to keep it fair. So give everybody else a chance. And the question this week, don't answer it until I say go. The question this week is that we showed you the Revel 132 Corvette. All I want to know is from the eModels website is what is the product code for eModels? Go. The product code
Damn,
for
I
the
can't remember what the
Revel
code was now.
132 Corvette. That's the old one.
Yep, you're in charge of it now, Ted, because I don't know what number it was. Remember, it's the first comment we see with the answer, and we see comments differently to you guys. So
yeah, it doesn't need the hashtag, it just needs the product number.
Yep, you shout it out when you see it, Ted.
Yeah. TK, no, it's not 16. Making Models said it's 07684. Correct. Well done.
Cool, nice one, Carl.
Well, nice one, Carl.
So that's you know the address, but I'll put it in the chat anyway. I only put my own email address in there. Nice one, Carl. So Bob Ted a quick email with your name and address.
Yep.
And he'll get that. We'll get that sorted out.
Yeah, I'll send the details across to eModels.
What was that for? Was that for the mug?
That was for the mug.
That was for the mug.
Yeah. I'm not going to do a t-shirt.
What about the blankety blank checkbook and pen?
Yeah, blankety blank, blankety bang, blankety bang.
Diddly doo, diddly doo.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a t-shirt this week. I'll save that for another week because we've only got a few left. I'm going to try and spread out the love a little bit. So we'll give one away maybe next week. All right.
Works for me.
Right. Okay. Please, any more questions? Last call for any more questions for tonight on any subject. Unfortunately, if you have sent me an email tonight, my phone is playing up. I can't get a signal on it, or the signal comes and goes.
Easy come, easy go. This is steady. Copyright.
Yeah.
Ron Max says, "Can we get an autographed photo? I'll autograph a picture of Ted. I might autograph it with Ted's name.
Like Radio 2. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Johnny. It's Brian from Wolverhampton. Can I have a signed photograph as well, please? And can you say hello to my mum and dad?"
Lynn Dipple says it took his computer too long to load the eModels webpage, and Carl says, "I kind of preloaded eModels webpage on a hunch."
We'll remember that for next week. Then we'll do something else.
Yeah, you see, you gotta. It's the fastest finger.
Yeah, that's it. Or you could think out of the box and run the video back.
Yes. Well, not for this because it's already done and done.
I think you can go back on it, can't you?
Robert Blaylock says, "Do a live show in America." Pete, we need the budget for that.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do that, and so's Ted.
I'm not traveling any less than business class.
Yeah, true. I need a big bowl of M&Ms in my room, but replace all the M&Ms with something that aren't M&Ms because I don't like M&Ms.
Yeah. Please forward all live requests for live appearances to eModels.
Yes. Pete May will take all requests. Make sure they're in exotic locations where we can spend several weeks getting acclimatized to the climate first.
That reminds me. Question came up last week about would you and I do a live build? And
oh yes,
and guys, after we'd closed everything down and we were having an after show chat between myself and Fox, we thought we probably would. We will at some time once we worked out the logistics of it, because we're going to try and get Tony Fairclough to come along as well and join in the chat so he can look after the chat while we get on with the build. We've decided that we will do a live build for you. Now, maybe it might be an hour, maybe it might be 2 hours, but we will look at doing a out of the box to finished product in one sitting, and you guys can have a look and a watch and a giggle, just for a bit of fun. We've yet to decide on what we're going to do. Obviously, it needs to be something nice and small and quick and easy to do, but we will, in the near future, do you a live build. How would you like that?
Yes, we're trying to figure out the logistics of having a third person involved so they can do the reading questions to us, because if we're building, we can't be answering your questions in chat and looking at the screen. So it'll be a case of me and Ted doing stuff. We've asked Tony if he can maybe do it. He'll be then sort of the host. He'll be taking your questions and dealing with the chat and passing them on to us. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're kind of up for that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, whether we build the same thing, somebody suggested a toon tank. Actually, that's one of the ideas that we're thinking of.
Yeah, we're thinking about that.
Yeah, or me do a Falcon and you do a tank.
In fact, a few people have said toon tanks, so I think we're doing toon tanks.
Yeah, we could do a toon tank. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do a Sherman.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have a think about it.
Yeah.
So we'll sort out the logistics and everything.
Yes. So it was a good idea.
It was a good idea.
And then Pete saw it, and it became an official idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never know when he's watching. He might come up with his ideas. Hi, because you always you get these emails. Hi Ted. Hi Fox. Oh, you think, oh dear. Pete's
I get the email saying, "Hi Fox." I'm like, he's been thinking, hasn't he? He's been thinking about something.
Yes.
We've got Pete thinking about something again. We do have a very quick question from David Moores. Do you use the Abteilung 502 flesh color oils like the acrylic paint sets? No, sort of. The major difference between oils and acrylics is that oils take days to dry. So what you would tend to do, and there's a million different ways of doing it, so do look up online how to paint figures with oil paints. What you would tend to do is start with the base color in, say, acrylic paint, just to get a flat base color, and then you use the oil paints to build up your highlights and your low. Start with the dark colors and work your way up, because you can mix the paints on the model. Those paints will stay mixable for days. So that's the major advantage. You can get beautiful shades and blends between colors. When I do dry brushing, sometimes I use oils because I know it'll give me a very soft, fuzzy edge. It won't just be brush marks everywhere. So you don't need to necessarily thin them. You can use them neat, or you can use them a little bit thinned down. But do have a look online. I mean, I'm not an expert figure painter. When I do it, I tend to use acrylics. I know Ted's the same as me. He's not an expert figure painter.
No.
It's kind of a thing that me and Ted are teaching ourselves, and it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
But oils make it easier because you can do beautiful blends. Some people do start with just a flat base color in acrylic paint, just a flat base tone, a dark color usually, like a brown, and then you can work your way up to the lighter shades until by the end of it, you're just painting on the tiniest of highlights on the bridge of the nose or the eyebrows or the chin or the top lip.
Yeah.
But
I have
it's all about mixing them.
Yeah. I've had a go at both the acrylics and the oils, and I must say, if I could master the oils, they're fantastic to paint with. Yeah, they're brilliant. They work well, and they blend superbly. You can actually blend them on the model.
Yeah. If you look at some of the, like the, I kind of say classic, but it's not classic, but figure painting was a massive thing going back 20, 30 years in the 80s, 70s and 80s. A lot of model makers would make figures, and they're often things like Napoleonic figures, so like a hussar on a horse and things like that. And normal model kits were like for kids, but proper middle-aged adult model makers would do things like figures and historical stuff. Some of the best painted figures you'll ever see are painted with oils, because you can get those soft blends and color changes, because you can put the paint on the model and you can blend other colors in. It's just like oil painting, an actual painting, but on the physical model. So you don't even need to be mixing stuff on the palette or worrying about it. Just get it on there and you can blend it all in. And if it all goes wrong, just get yourself some oil paint thinners and take it off. It does take, I mean, I painted a figure and I did quite a thick application of paint on the face, and it took weeks for the paint to fully cure before I could matte varnish it. So that's the only thing you have to keep in mind. It takes a long time to dry. But some of the best painted figures you'll ever see are with oils, especially for flesh and horses.
I'm just getting the hang of painting figures, human figures, never mind animals. So yeah, we're talking about hair and things like that. So it's a whole game.
Yeah. So yes, it's a different set of tools, but it's worth researching it because you'll get the best results. Kenneth M says, question, what in particular are you looking forward to the most in Destiny 2, Fox? Destiny 2. All of it. I'm most looking forward to having a new game to play, because I need something new to play, but also hanging out with Chris and Paul and doing the online Team Inept multiplayer air strikes and stuff, because I have good fun with Paul and Chris when we do that. So yes, but all of it, just having a new game to play.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what he's on about, folks. So I don't. So if he disappears for a few weeks, we know where he is. Be around his house. Yeah. I
will behave.
Yeah. We'll get Mum Fox. Fox, turn it off. You're on live. You're supposed to be on live.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I don't know about you, mate, but I think it's time to wrap this show up.
What time is it?
It's 25 to 11.
Ooh, it's 10:30. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever time it is in the other parts of the world for these people. It's been a great night tonight. I've really enjoyed it tonight. I've learned a few things, especially what's in store from eModels. I don't always get a chance to have a look at what's in store until we come on before we do the live stream. It's been a good night. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. You know where to go if you want to see what's in store yourself. Go along to the eModels website.
Oh, sorry, Ted. There is one question, and I'll answer it because it's kind of it's an interesting question. Gaz Malvin says, "Do you sand primer before painting?" You can do. It gives you a nice smooth surface. If it's a particularly thick primer and it's all lumpy and bumpy, then yes, you can do. You don't need to, though. Some primers you don't need to. If you use the UMP Ultimate Primer by Justana Rares, Ammo by Meg, or say the Tamiya Rattle Can primers or the Army Painter Rattle Can primers, they dry really smooth. So you don't need to. Only if you got like, if you get a blot, if you rattle can your primer and you get like a run or a drip, then yeah, you can sand that back.
On that, some primers do end up being sanded because one of the other reasons of applying primer is not just to apply your paint on top of it, but it also highlights all your problems, all your faults, any seams that won't filling, any nubs that you haven't taken off. It'll highlight it all, bring it all out.
So you don't need to unless you've goofed and you've got a dribble or a drop, but some primers you do. There are some primers that you can't sand. Vallejo primers, which I wouldn't recommend you use anyway because they are terrible. They're not sandable in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, just you don't need to, but you can do if you need to. I just wanted to answer that one because it was right at the end and it's kind of I didn't want to leave them hanging.
I'd sort of lost track of the chat, and I do apologise if you have sent me messages, emails on there, but I've lost the signal again and I can't get back in.
I take it we've had no word from the dove from above, by the way, Ted.
No, I've got Skype on another program I've got my laptop down here with no messages from the dove from above. Not this week anyway. He might have fallen asleep.
That's true.
Yeah, it is late now. He should have been in bed. Yeah, because he's got the.
Well, that's why it's worth watching to the very end of this podcast, of this live stream, because you never know when he who must be obeyed might command from on high that we're giving something away. So there you go.
So you got to watch. Yeah, and it doesn't happen every week. Yeah, so you don't come in here. You can't just log on expecting to take part in a giveaway and walk away with something because it doesn't happen every week. Got to keep watching to the end. And on that note, I think we have got to the end. So.
Oh, and he's stuck right by the end there.
Night, and a few people are drifting away as we're chatting. They're either drifting away or falling asleep. And I know the football's, apparently there's a football match been on tonight. But I don't.
We've not been in competition with Game of Thrones because that's finished now.
Has that finished?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was just football tonight. Right. Time to go. Time to say good night. Until next week, and we do it all again. Thank you very much for everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for everybody coming in and watching.
Yeah, we'll see you all next week. And look out, I hope to get a live stream, a live update done on the U-boat very soon, provided the wife lets me. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Adios, amigos.
Bye. All right, where's the button? There it is.